So me sending you Bitcoin or you sending me Bitcoin runs on a network. And then essentially we have Web3. So Web3 just essentially mean it's just the new progression of the internet. So before we used to use what we still use. I don't like to age myself, but I tell people, I don't know if you remember something called Ask Jeeves. And so it was, yeah, yeah. So we used to use Ask Jeeves. Now we use Google, right? And so Web3 is just the natural progression of the internet, the World Wide Web. And then Web3 is just essentially decentralization, the blockchain technologies that we can utilize. I like to also talk about NFTs, non-fungible tokens.
Hello there, everyone. Welcome to the A Conversation series on the Sound of Accra podcast. So this is the standalone season series where we explore the lives, journeys, and celebrate the success of individuals from a Ghanaian heritage or interest in short and sweet episodes. Today, I'm joined with Carlita, who is the founder of Afri+Tech. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yes, that's right.
Brilliant. Yeah, it's always got to make sure I get the fine details, all correct. Well, thank you for coming on, Carlita. How are you doing?
Great. I'm here back in Canada. I'm doing well. Thank you.
Is it nice and cold, nice and brisk over there, or is it heating up?
You know what? It's actually warmer than usual. We've hit some record warmness since I've been back. So I brought back the sun from Ghana, I think.
Brilliant. Must be a little bit of climate change happening over there.
Yeah.
I think Canada, the thing about Canada, whenever I'm over there, it's usually very hot summers, very cold winters, and
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to be part of the winter. It's just too much for me. Getting
It's
lost
a
in the
lot.
snow. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. It's not for me. Just keep me here in Ghana. That's it. Just keep me
That's
here in Ghana.
right.
So yeah, well, thank you for thank you for coming on the show. I believe just as I kind of found out about you, I think I just missed you more or less. You were just kind of getting ready to head back to Canada, but whilst you were here in Ghana, I think you did quite a bit in terms of like going on media tours and things like that. For those people that don't know who you are and what you do, just give the listeners just a quick 60-second elevator pitch in terms of what Carlita does and who she is.
Absolutely. Thank you, Adrian. So I'm Carlita Cash. I have a business called Afri+Tech. So those of you who don't know, like you said, Afri+Tech. So what I do, I'm just a crypto enthusiast, crypto educator. I love to come to Africa, specifically Ghana, and teach people how to utilize blockchain technology, cryptocurrency, and build a generational wealth. So I'm back here in Canada. So I'm trying to merge the gap between North America and Africa, and help Africans get into this new world of decentralization, essentially.
Absolutely. I mean, this is where everything is going these days, it's something very important. I feel like there is going to be a seismic shift in terms of world economies, and blockchain, Web3, and crypto is something that we all need to be keeping our eyes out for. Just before I kind of dive deep into what you're doing in that space and how you're trying to connect the dots, internationally. Yeah, Carlita Cash, is that your surname? Is that your nickname, or?
That's my crypto name.
It's a crypto name. I like
that's
that.
my crypto name.
It's got a nice ring to it. Carlita Cash.
Yes.
I love the alliteration.
Yes.
Okay. Right. Let's keep this conversation flowing, Carlita. So there was an interview that came out a while ago with Del Titus. So he's a pretty strong evangelist here in Ghana in terms of the Web3 space. And I mean, I saw an interview of him and Denta, who's quite a well-known personality here in Ghana. And they had a conversation about Web3 and crypto and the blockchains. And one interesting thing he said, Carlita, was that he feels that Africa or Ghana per se is ready for, the Web3, the blockchain, the crypto, because you have the likes of Google. They've got their headquarters in Accra. Twitter was here, but of course that's they've come and packed up their bags because of Elon, doing what he's doing. And you got other tech companies that have established themselves in Ghana. So there's a lot happening in this space. And I think just off the call, I mentioned Jack Dorsey, comes to Ghana quite a bit, and he always finds himself at the Africa Bitcoin conference, which runs every early December for a few days.
Yeah.
Why do you feel Ghana or Africa per se is ready for crypto, Bitcoin? Web3, blockchain. All of these new technologies, these emerging technologies.
So that's a great question. I think, to be honest, I think Ghana and I think Africa on a whole almost doesn't have a choice but to get into this market, to the industry. The market is so fresh. I like to tell people that we're still in the beta series of blockchain crypto. There's only under 1% of the world who's even invested into cryptocurrency. So we're still in the early stages. And I believe that the market is amazing in Ghana. I believe that there are quite a few startups in Ghana. It's still an up and emerging industry there where a lot of people are curious. I know last summer, University of Ghana just started their first blockchain course. So I know they're trying to integrate it. They're trying to get the youth. The youth actually already are interested in it. Some people are trading. Some people are investing into cryptocurrency specifically. And I think it's just a great market. It's a place where people are starting to see that cryptocurrency and blockchain is allowing Africans, allowing Ghanaians to have an even playing field with the rest of the world now. When you look at Dubai's the hub of crypto right now. Ghana can be like Dubai. There's a very large possibility of that happening here. There's so many natural resources here. And so, encompassing that with the industries that are already there is going to help the market's going to help the different industries to grow and be powerful.
Yeah. There's a very interesting comments you made, Carlita. I feel like where the economy is going, where the government's going, where banks are moving as well. Banks are moving a lot more digital. I've noticed in Ghana as well. Even the phone companies as well. I think some of these mobile money transfer platforms as well. You could see them kind of moving into crypto in the future. You could kind of see that transition there. Is it quite interesting? You mentioned you could see Ghana or Accra per se as being like another Dubai, because I think during the 2020-2021 lockdown period, what you found was people that weren't able to make money through the usual means, they actually got out their phones. They started downloading, apps like Binance or what have you, or the equivalent in Ghana and Africa, and they were actually able to make money through, buying, selling, trading crypto. So yeah, I think the interesting thing about Ghana and Africa is that a lot of people have smartphones, and once you can get on the internet, the rest is history.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So, speaking of Ghana, you of course, let's talk about your trip to Ghana, your recent trip to Ghana, actually. So we're now in February 2024 as we're recording this episode. Tell us a bit about your trip to Ghana, and if this was your first time, and what you got up to during this particular trip.
Yes. So it's been my fourth time to Ghana. I absolutely loved it. The first time I went, I stayed about 2 months, and absolutely loved it. This trip, I got to stay about 5 weeks, and it was really nice. This trip, I got to actually explore a little more. I got to go to Cape Coast. I got to visit the slave castles. And this trip was very meaningful to me. The first time I came to Ghana, it was trying to explore Ghana and first time actually in Africa. And so, it was amazing opportunity. So the first time was, okay, let me kind of test out the waters and see how it is. Get to enjoy Dirty December and the festivities, concerts. And so this trip was more of a business trip for me. and to kind of delve into the market a little more and to meet people and to network. I did a lot of networking, which was great. And I got to visit the Jubilee House as well. I was really, really excited about that. And I really got to see the history and visited Independence Square. So, and I realized there's so much opportunity in Ghana, especially when it comes to tourism. I could see the door opening there, especially when it comes to North Americans. I see a lot of Americans coming to Ghana, but not as many Canadians. So I'd love to kind of get more Canadians to see, like myself, the beauty of the culture and the history and the people. And so that's
Mm.
what I really got to do this time around, and it was fantastic. It was amazing.
Absolutely fantastic. It sounds like quite an accomplished, busy trip as well. It sounds like you packed
Yeah.
in a lot in 5 weeks. You know, networking,
Yes.
business, touring, travel, enjoyment as well. Of course, you can't come here without enjoyment. You know, so glad you got to
Hmm.
pack in as what you did. Sounds like a well, a well deserved and a well time used trip. But yeah, I think you are right in terms of, there's a lot of Americans coming. Of course, the British have been coming, no pun intended, for many years as well. But yeah, I think we're starting to see a lot more Canadians start to come as well. But I
Hmm.
think there are quite a number of Canadians around. You got like Ivy Prosper, popular
Yeah.
YouTuber. She's around. She came on the show last season.
Hmm.
You've got Living Ghana, ran by Frank Mensah. He's Canadian and he runs, that property company in Ghana. And 54 Gold Tours, I believe, is another Canadian-based tour company in Ghana. So you do have
Yeah.
quite a few Canadians emerging, and I'm sure that's
Hmm.
just going to grow. So
Yeah.
I'm sure you're flying a
Exactly.
flag for Canada.
That's right.
Yeah, it's
That's right.
amazing trip, amazing trip. So okay, cool. Let's keep this moving. Tell us through Afri+Tech and tell us about what the business does and your role in it.
Yeah. So I founded this business a couple of years ago when I, got into cryptocurrency and blockchain. And I was here in Canada, and I thought, why not take this and expand it into Africa? So when I first came to Ghana, I was just kind of checking out the market, seeing the different startups here, asking people what they thought about crypto when I first came. And then I spent a week in Ghana. I went to Kenya, I went to Zambia, Zimbabwe, Egypt, and Ethiopia, and just testing out the market. I actually did a conference, mini conference in Kenya, and I saw a
Mm,
lot of people were interested in crypto. And so, what Afri+Tech really does is just educates people on cryptocurrency. What is it? How they can get involved in it? How they can invest in it? We don't manage people's accounts. We just strictly do education, and we help people understand and safeguard their crypto. There's so many scams out there, and so we just help people safeguard their cryptocurrency, um, and then learn how to invest into it and where to invest into it, what type of cryptocurrencies they should invest in, or most likely they can invest in.
mm,
And just the education part of it is really important. So we pretty much do beginners, intermediate, and advanced teaching. And so people can kind of take it step by step, learning the
mhm,
very basics of cryptocurrency and blockchain and how to encompass it and include it in their day to day their lives. So
mm,
yeah, and we also do conferences as well. So starting in August of this year, we're going to be doing a conference in Accra, Ghana,
mhm,
and then moving to Gambia, Uganda, Nigeria as well. So we're going to be doing conferences and more so moving into the bigger conferences around Africa. So everybody can stay tuned to that. We're going to be giving some updates and whatnot.
No, that's brilliant, Carly. It's really great to hear. So it really sounds like you're really passionate about, evangelizing, crypto, to Africa.
Yeah.
What is it about Africa that appeals to you, the most rather than other continents that you could have, gone ahead and done what you're doing, even in Canada, North America? What is it about Africa
Mhm.
per se that really appeals to you?
Yeah. So my whole life I've always been very Afrocentric.
Mm.
I consider myself a Pan-African individual. I have no direct ties to Africa, but because I am a Black woman, I know my roots are in Africa. I don't know where yet.
Absolutely.
I still need to do that. But I know it's really important to me to see my people, as a whole, develop and grow and get into the markets. And I know we've suffered a lot all over the world. Being an African diaspora individual, we've suffered all over the world. And so I said, you know what? I need to take this to Africa to make a difference and
Hmm.
for us to build wealth. We have so many natural resources that countries have been taken advantage of on a large scale and continue to do so to this day. When we look at places like Congo and Sudan and whatnot. And so I said, you know what, why not give people something that they can look forward to help their lives and their future and their children and children's children. And so I said, you know what, I have to do this. And my whole goal is essentially to move to Africa and
Mm.
to start a new life there and to grow and expand the business and to really nurture and help the different communities there and to give back essentially to the places where this is where my ancestors are from, the
Mm.
continent. And so it's just my duty as a Black woman, a Black individual to go back to where essentially I'm from.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, I definitely hear where you're coming from. I mean, I'm sure you're aware in 2019, the government of Ghana ran the Year of Return campaign. I'm not sure
Yeah.
if you came to Ghana during that period, but I think that was pretty
Mm.
much the start of, huge migration and,
Yeah.
tourism from, places like the States, and
Mhm.
other countries around the world for people to come and see, what Ghana, it has to offer. And of course, did come home essentially. And I guess it's great to hear that more people such as
Mhm.
yourself are looking to take that step, and not only looking to take that step, but also to bring, skill sets and knowledge that the continent needs effectively.
Mhm.
So we do need more people like Dale Titus, and I'm glad to hear that you've kind of joined that kind of mission alongside people like him to kind of spread, Web3, blockchain, crypto, the new emerging technologies that we're going to need to move into very, very soon, as we are going
Mhm.
to see a shift in the economy very soon. I do very believe so. Um, okay, this is very interesting. Okay, and then in terms of kind of giving back, you mentioned giving back as well. Of course, what you do is a consultancy, is a business, you're making money. But what does giving back also look like for you in terms of Africa? As this is a continent where we do need to help a lot of communities that don't have as much. What does that look like for you?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I actually work with a foundation called the ADO Foundation, and where they give back to the communities. They're giving jobs, employment to especially women and children, and so in different various communities in Ghana, and exploring other countries as well. And so I work with them and try to educate them as well, and on the markets and how they, as women especially, can get into the market. It's not just essentially these traditional roles that women can play, but they can also get into technology and education as well. And so I love to work with different foundations and charity and things like that. I think it's really important because it's not just about taking and what I can get from the
Hmm.
continent, from the country, but giving
Hmm.
back essentially and allowing people to see that they can do more than what is set out for them in a script, um, and breaking those boundaries as well is really important.
Brilliant, brilliant. I do like what you said there. I mean, I think there was one individual who said the other day, um, don't go to Africa or Ghana necessarily just to see what you can get,
Yeah,
but go there to
yeah.
see what you can give, what you can learn.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because of course it's a different world here, different culture, and I think the moment they realize that you're there just to take what you can take, you
Mm-hmm.
do see a different attitude. But once they see
Yes.
that, you're not there just to take, but you're there to give, and you're there to kind of
Mm-hmm.
fit in with them and then to adapt, then you do see, you know, the warm, loving side that you get from Ghanaians and maybe other Africans across the
Yes.
continent. Okay,
Yes.
Carlita.
Absolutely.
I'm enjoying this conversation so far. Let's keep this conversation going. So, the word crypto is always mentioned alongside the blockchain and the Web3. Do you want to kind of quickly break down the differences for those that don't understand?
Absolutely. So,
Mhm.
what cryptocurrency is, it's essentially digital money. And the way I like to break it down is we started off with bartering. So, for example, you had wheat, I had goats, we'd exchange one for the other. And then we went into the gold rush. Then we had metal coins. Then we have paper money, debit card, credit cards. A lot of people use Apple Pay now. And now we just have the natural progression of money into cryptocurrency. So what cryptocurrency is too, it's a decentralized digital money. And so there's no governance over it. There's nobody that owns cryptocurrency. Then you have the blockchain technology that allows cryptocurrency to run. So we have different markets, we have different networks that crypto runs on. It's just a series of computers. So me sending you Bitcoin or you sending me Bitcoin runs on a network. And then essentially we have Web3. So Web3 just essentially mean it's just the new progression of the internet. So before we used to use what we still use. I don't like to age myself, but I tell people I don't know if you remember something called Ask Jeeves.
Oh
And so
yeah,
it was,
I use that.
yeah, yeah. So we used to use Ask Jeeves. Now we use Google, right? And so Web3 is just the natural progression of the internet, the World Wide Web. And then Web3 is just essentially decentralization, the blockchain technologies that we can utilize. I like to also talk about NFTs, non-fungible tokens. Where artists and musicians can have ownership of their own artwork and music, and less governance over all of these things, and people having their own capabilities and control of their stuff essentially. And so that's kind of how I like to quickly break down the difference between those three things.
Beautiful, beautiful. That was a very good explanation. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing. And NFT is another interesting one. And there was a phase, I think, maybe in 2022, 2021, where NFTs were really, really hot. But now it
Mm-hmm.
seems like that,
Mm-hmm.
it's died down a little bit. So, I feel like NFTs, there's still a case for it.
Yes.
And I really
Yeah.
feel like, somewhere like Africa, Ghana, there's lots of like arts and culture and music.
Yeah.
I feel
Mm-hmm.
like there could be a lot of use cases for NFTs in the near future. Hopefully we can actually see all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there's a lot of Web3 based startups that are emerging as well. There's one I
Mm-hmm.
particularly spoke to called Aya. Eric Annan's the founder of that one as well, and they want to use basically what they want to do essentially is raise up Web3 talents, across
Mm-hmm.
Africa and, export their skills, across the world. So, maybe that's kind of like product managers, data analysts, developers, coders, and Web3, etc.
Mm-hmm.
Are you looking to maybe collaborate with any startups in Africa? And, how do you see maybe startups kind of taking advantage of this kind of technology?
Yes, that's a great question. I absolutely would love to do that. And so, part of the conference that I'm doing with Afri+Tech, what we're essentially doing is we're wanting to come into the different countries, different cities, and showcase a lot of these startups. So, I will be definitely reaching out to a lot of the different startups in my next trip to Ghana and getting them to come out to these conferences that we're doing and showcase what they're doing and essentially bring in, investors, foreign investors, local investors to help them grow and to showcase what they have to offer to Accra, to Ghana, to Africa. And so it's
Mhm.
really, really, I'm glad to hear that. I know on my first trip actually to Ghana, I saw that they had some Bitcoin ATMs too in Accra. I believe there was two or three at the time, and so I was really excited to see that. So there are a lot of emerging startup businesses and companies. So it's great to hear and great to see. And I would love to work with a lot of them and to showcase and to grow and to collaborate, especially.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Yeah. It's all exciting. Could be an exciting year 2024 in terms of cryptocurrency.
Mhm.
Now, we have talked a lot about decentralized currency, Carlita. One thing we haven't really touched upon is centralized currency. Um, I did an episode on one of our, so we have a couple of series called Pod Bites and FinTech Fridays. And one of the episodes I did a while ago was talking about the digital city. So there are talks of the Bank of Ghana working on the digital city. How concerned should Ghanaians be, and should they still go ahead and invest in cryptocurrency?
Yeah, so I believe that Ghanaians, I know as a whole, a lot of people are very skeptical about cryptocurrency. It's something that not a lot of people are well knowledge on. They don't have, they might not have a lot of knowledge on it. And so what they hear, specifically in the news, the media, it's, there's a lot of fear about it just because there's not a lot of education. And so when they do hear something, it's something negative. And so that's why I believe the education portion of it is really important. It's something that when you are educated on and you understand the whole gist of cryptocurrency and the whole idea of decentralization, it's something that's actually very valuable and helpful for individuals, for people. I know the banks are going to, as we've seen, they're starting to get into that digital age. And so, I don't like to talk negatively about the banks and whatnot. I got to be careful. But yeah, but yeah, you're going to be seeing a lot of countries, and we have seen them already. Look at the U.S. when Americans are starting to have their own digital currencies, right? They're still centralized, but they're digital currencies, and so you have to really look into that and say, okay, so if there's something negative about cryptocurrencies, why do we have these centralized organizations creating digital money, essentially, right? So you have to see that there's something going on here. There's something that's very progressive. And so we're going to start to see more of that, more of the banks kind of collectively thinking, okay, let's get on board with a lot of these, especially when you look at Binance. So, for example, if you go on the centralized, because essentially it is a centralized platform or exchange where you buy
Mhm.
cryptocurrency, you're able to purchase cryptocurrency using your fiat money. And then when you want to cash out, it's connected to the bank. And so there's always this collaborative or merging portion to all of this, right? And so we are going to start to see a lot more of that in Ghana, I believe. The banks and different organizations are going to get on board with whether it's crypto, digital money, whether it's their own or whatnot that they're creating. We are starting to see that. So I think this is a really good opportunity for Ghanaians to get on board with it before it gets too expensive to buy, for example, Bitcoin. And so, yeah, I think these are just little examples of progression in the society and the communities on what's
Yeah.
going to happen. Yeah.
Yeah. Brilliant. Yeah. It's quite interesting because I think with banks, usually in the early stages they're quite, open to crypto.
Mhm.
But for example, in the UK, when you do want to kind of cash out your crypto, some banks are against it. So some banks would
Mhm.
try and maybe get your account to get shut down or things like that. So it can be quite tight in some areas, especially if you're
Mhm.
making money on crypto.
Yes.
But I suppose because it's an emerging area in Africa in the beginning, this should be that kind of renaissance period where there's going to be a lot of upsides and a lot to be gained. But
Mhm.
where I see things going is eventually you know the banks being a centralized type of operation, they might be against the decentralized because it's working against them, because it's
Yes.
essentially competition. So
Mm-hmm.
I think, everyone needs to take advantage of what cryptocurrency can give them for now. And then maybe in the future, I think things may get more tightened and more influenced by the government. So it
Yes.
might be a bit more trickier, but I feel like, the time is now to really capitalize on it. So, I do
Mm-hmm.
appreciate people like yourselves, Carlita, coming and, doing what you're doing, to help Africa get involved, in crypto, especially as
Mm-hmm.
it's still emerging. Okay.
Yes.
Brilliant. I mean, I've really enjoyed this conversation. What would you say? Of course, you mentioned your conference. You mentioned you're coming down, for some events. What would you say other than our 2024 plans for yourself and Afri+Tech?
So the moving to Ghana, that's essentially
Okay.
the biggest move. So Afri+Tech will fully be in Ghana as of later of 2024, which is
Mhm,
exciting.
mhm,
So there's going to be a lot of conferences, a lot of sessions, educational sessions, and as well as women tech conferences as well. We're going to start to do some more of those and
mhm,
community-based reach outs and charity work as
mhm.
well. So it's going to be really exciting and
Beautiful.
merging into the African market. Yeah,
Beautiful.
a lot.
Beautiful. This is quite an interesting question because I want to ask, because I think a lot of people, recently, they are moving to Ghana and they are, seeing, seeing the upsides, and they are making contributions to the country, to the city of Accra. What would you say are some of the challenges that you've seen on some of the trips in terms of maybe doing business and doing, impact type, you know, um, contributions in the country?
I would definitely say the mindset. So I
Mm.
I do, yeah. I travel quite a bit. I've always traveled as a baby with my parents, family, up till now. So I've traveled all over the world. And one thing that I always have to do is when I'm leaving Canada and I'm going somewhere else, whether it may be Africa, South America, Caribbean, Europe. I have to remember to change my mindset as soon as I leave. Because here we're very fast paced. Whether it's the way we talk, move, everything is quick, and so we want something as fast as a New York minute done. And
Hmm.
so when I leave here, I have to remember that the pace of things are different everywhere I go, and so I have to kind of take a step back, especially when I go to Ghana and think, okay, things might not be as fast or because there's things work in a different way and essentially everywhere you go. And so, and you have to have in mind too that there's different cultures. So you have to be respectful, understanding, and realize that things work in a different way everywhere you go, specifically in Ghana. And so, that's one thing that could be a challenge at first, but then I remember, I have to kind of go with what is happening there and go with the flow, essentially.
Mm.
And I find too, for me, the way that I've progressed in life, specifically when it comes to networking, is usually saying yes, whether it's meeting somebody last minute or networking or having a meeting or showing up to an event. There might be, last minute things that somebody will say, hey, do you want to do an interview or do you want to come to this conference? So, for example, when I came to Ghana this last trip here,
Mhm.
the day that I arrived, somebody asked me to come to a conference. So I arrived at my hotel. I dropped my stuff. I had a shower, changed. I said,
Mhm.
yes, I'm going to be there. And if I
Wow.
didn't go, I wouldn't have been able to network. I was exhausted after 21 hours in transit.
Wow. 21 hours. Wow. That's a long
Yeah.
day.
Yeah, it was long. And I said, you know what? Let me go because I never know who I'm going to meet there, who I'll network with, might get different business opportunities. So I'm glad I went and I met a lot of people and was able to network and to build relationships. That's another important thing too, is building not just networking with people, but building a relationship with people in their organizations and supporting other people as well. So all very
Brilliant.
different. Yeah.
Amazing. And you just never underestimate the power of networking, especially in places like Ghana, because it is a small place as much as you may think it's a big place. And
Mm-hmm.
having contacts in different areas for different things is so key here. Honestly, like you need a plan A, B, C, D, E, F, G, the whole alphabet,
Yeah.
because things can go, left when you least, when you least expect it. So,
Mm-hmm.
um, I think you having the mindset that you have, especially having talked about the mindsets that some Ghanaians have, I think it's brilliant. And, I've got no doubt you're going to succeed in what you're doing in Ghana and South Africa.
Thank you. Thank you.
Carlita, thank you for coming on the show. Is there any final announcements you want to make, and where can everyone connect with you?
Yes. So I usually like to say Instagram is a great place to connect with me at Cash Carlita. And as well, we're just doing maintenance on our website, but we'll be having that up soon. I'll be making some announcements on Instagram, and that would be, yeah, just send a DM. That would be great to connect with people on different topics and whatnot and what they're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd love to help and to network with people as well on there.
Brilliant. Well, we'll have, the Instagram and maybe the website, if that's ready on time, in the description below. If you're watching on YouTube, we'll have that in the description below. If you're listening on the podcast place, Apple Podcast, Spotify, check the description below or wherever you get your podcasts, and make sure you leave us a 5-star review. Thank you, Carlita, for enlightening us with Web3, blockchain, cryptocurrency, especially. What's your favorite cryptocurrency before we go? Because it's not just Bitcoin. It's not just about Bitcoin. I think some people,
Yes.
for me, when I first learned about cryptocurrency, I always thought Bitcoin was synonymous to cryptocurrency, but that's not the case. You've got Bitcoin, and then you have altcoins, and then maybe some other stuff, and you got maybe like stable coins. So
Yeah.
what's your favorite coin? Because that's a whole conversation.
Ooh, that's a hard one. I love XRP, Solana.
Mm.
Another one of my favorite. It's an oldie but a goodie. Omi, Ecomi.
Omi. Ooh.
Yes, yes, yes. That's
Ooh.
a very heavily connected to NFTs. I still have belief in Omi that it's gonna hit the moon one day.
Absolutely. That's what they said about
Yeah.
XRP and some other ones.
Yeah.
Not actually not XRP. It was.
Like,
I'm trying to remember the coin with Dogecoin. That's it. Dogecoin to
oh,
the moon. Do you remember when
Dogecoin.
Elon
Yeah.
Musk would come and hype it up? And then, yeah, Dogecoin to the moon. And then there was one guy that
That's
bought
right.
$1 million in Dogecoin, and then he lost it.
Yes.
This
Yeah.
is how not to invest. So I suppose you need to reach out to people like Carlita to show you how to, operate or how to navigate cryptocurrency. And
Yes.
it's
Yes.
an interesting place. But yeah, XRP, hopefully if they win the case,
Yes.
just shoot up. I've enjoyed
Yes.
this.
And yes, me
Thank you for
too.
your
And
time.
thank you so much. Thank you. I appreciate you having me. It's an amazing podcast,
Likewise.
and yes, it's been an amazing conversation.
No problem at all. If we're both down in Accra sometime, then definitely get an in-person one done, because that's what I'm doing right now.
Yes.
I'm shooting season 6, a whole lot of in-person conversations. So hopefully
Hmm.
we'll get it done next time. Yeah,
Yes, absolutely.
brilliant. All right, guys. So until next time, thank you for joining the A Conversation With series on the Sound of Accra podcast.